What is up, y'all? We are here for our weekly anchor message where we get our spiritual lessons for the week, kind of lessons that we're going to be working with in Soul School. I hope everybody's doing well. I am elated. We had a beautiful, gorgeous snow day here in Nashville, and we don't always have snow days. That's like maybe once, twice a year. And it was like a really fluffy, heavy, deep covering, and I got to spend the last hour and a half of daylight out in the forest and along the path, and there were just enough people out there to like be like, oh, hello, but then it felt pretty isolated, which was nice. And so yeah, that was like super fun and refreshing. I thought about trying to squeeze in some of the 2024 predictions, but I just decided, you know what, we don't get snow days often, and so you have to take advantage of little gifts from life when they present, and especially if they're time sensitive, like a snow day, when you're like, it could be melted tomorrow, we may not have the night off, like the restaurant closed tonight because there was just like, the roads are just not gonna lend themselves to traveling until a day or so. But anywho, let's get into the reading. So this is such continuity to me for the beginning of the year and the beginning of the week, for our, message to just sort of set us off into our week ahead. But this is more, and also speaking to, the rest of the month and the, beginning into the year. This is still, speaking directly to the consciousness of, this is the seed level of the year right now. And it is also the seed level of this big new cycle that we've started. The jumping of the timelines. We're on the new timeline now. So hopefully you're not still straddling one leg on the old one, because you're about to get, it's about to get painful soon. You're about to get stretched. So jumping fully onto this timeline, now it's our chance to go slowly and with intention, take actions based on what you would who you consciously want to be, and how you want to consciously show up going into this next cycle. Because it's at this early stages where we're planting the seeds, and it makes the most difference if we can really be intentional and present with that practice. So this is our chance to embody the wisdom and the discernment that we've gained through experience. And it really takes discipline to go slow and try to maintain our balance. Because what we're trying to do now is we're trying to practice cause consciousness rather than effect consciousness. When we are in a state of cause consciousness, we actually have sovereignty over our mental landscape, our, emotional landscape, our energy, and we can choose with free will, not just in reaction, in a default response mode, in a subconscious pattern. Instead, we're pausing and we're choosing, with absolute, clarity and certainty. And so, the more that we maintain affinity with the light of the Creator, the more that we will maintain that vibrational alignment with the divine path and divine will and divine guidance and divine favor. The divine God, Creator, Source, I use a lot of these words interchangeably, is always emanating an eternal and unwavering and unchanging and unfluctuating flow of unconditional love. Eternal, unconditional, these aren't wavering, these aren't changing, these are unaffected. God, Creator, Source is the cause, is the source of all. And so Source is not affected by anything. Source is the cause. We by nature are the effect. And so it is our, practice in our spiritual discipline to become more like the cause, more cause consciousness. What helps us in that regard is maintaining our certainty in the light of the Creator, which helps us maintain our faith and our unwavering vibration, right? We're not on the roller coaster of life, like one day stressed out and one day depressed and one day elated. It's like we can be more consistent because we're not affected by the outer circumstances. We see that it's the energy, it's the spirit underneath it that's the actual reality, and that is very mutable. And out, like the physical that we see is also very mutable. And so when you're certain in the Creator, you know that the Creator is present in all things. And the moment that we understand that it's Creator's the source, you know, not the vessel that we're obsessing over, that's when, you know, it's like when we have that moment where we can surrender and let go and trust, and we get it and we can embody that. That's when the lesson's no longer necessary. And usually the process, the painful process, the, you know, whatever uncomfortable circumstances we're in, that's when they begin to shift. So our anchor message for the week is an official invitation. We are embarking again once more on the hero's journey. This is the next episode, much like The Mandalorian in the serial Western style, where, you know, it's just ongoing. And every episode is a new adventure, but it's still, you know, kind of cohesive. So we're being invited out again into adventure, into the unknown, into uncertain circumstances. And we're being challenged to maintain certainty within the unknown, within the looking into the face of the unknown. Trust in the Creator that whatever, come what may, you can be guided, you can be led, you can be, you know, in the favor of divine. You can get through any circumstance and be pretty much okay, you know, throughout it. The more that you trust the Creator. You know, when you know, Christians obsess over the rapture in the tribulations, and they think that they're going to be taken away and taken to the kingdom of heaven during the tribulations by the rapture. What that really means is that when we're in tribulation, you know, we're all in tribulation right now. Things are intense out there in the world and in the zeitgeist and in the, you know, ethereal realms and in the literal realms. And, you know, this is a tribulation, so to speak, you know, and they come, you know, every era, every generation has these times. And so here they are again. And, you know, every few generations they're, you know, at their peak. And so we're here in these times, and in order to be raptured, we're not going to be taken away and out of this. We're here. This is our realm. So we have to find the rapture within. We have to be released from our suffering, from our buying into the illusion, thinking that all that we see has any, you know, is telling us anything solid. It's like things can change in an instant. Miracles can happen in an instant. We can manifest things with ease and certainty. And so the more that we share affinity with the light, and the stronger and more consistent and sustaining that we are, the more influence over our reality that we have in co-creation with the light. And so what the more we have affinity with our higher self, the more we're aligning with our divine path, and the more that we are in that favor and in that flow and in that cosmic, you know, zone, so to speak. We're in a miracle zone, and it's like manifestations start happening, and, you know, we're more magnetic. And the more clarity we have, and the more, you know, our words, actions, feelings, thoughts, it all aligns up, it all matches up, like the more momentum we have. So once again, you know, here we are standing on the edge of the forest, and the portal is open and it presents, and it's like, hello, you know, here's this adventure, and it's very dark and it's very uncertain, and this path has not been carved yet. It's up to you to get your machete out and carve your own path. Are you up for it again? You know, or would you rather stay in the comfort of the village and stay where you're at? Because this, you know, once you've been out in the forest, you go back to the village periodically, but you're never fully satisfied there again. It just doesn't offer you quite as much edge as, you know, you go, you embody, you ground, you nurture yourself, you prepare, you find stability for a while, and then the forest invites you back out again. So now, in order to up level, in order to embody this new up level, we're starting on this new timeline again. So once again, we're going into this next cycle, and it's almost as if Life the Show is started, And the old series has like ended and it's been picked up again, and it's got maybe a new director, a little bit revamped, you know. A lot of the old storylines don't have to apply, the old character dynamics, you know, all that stuff, all the baggage, all the things that motivated you in the past. The patterns, the wounds, the traumas, the mistakes that you made that you feel regret for, all of it, all of that you wish hadn't happened, you can just let it all go. You know, for God's sake, we're going forward, you know, letting bygones be bygones, like leaving the baggage in the past, because we want to go forward as unencumbered as possible to give ourselves the best chance of success. And so, you know, we're not supposed to know exactly what lies ahead. Part of the initiation is like being brave and courageous in the face of uncertainty, taking the leap of faith, doing it anyway, having a little bit of grit and moxie and backbone, and headed out. And so on the path of the hero's journey, we are always, you know, presented with these archetypal characters that are teachers and helpers and tricksters and princes and paupers and foes and friends. And no one is rarely dressed the part. Rarely do people come off and they present the way that they are on this journey. And the key players, you'll know, it's not like all of the people in the world around you, but these characters along the path, they're like strangely put there for this season, for this lesson. And these, you know, maybe like mentors that you find. You know, do you ever like stumble across someone on social media and you follow them for a while and it's like they are like, you're just so on the same wavelength as to what they're talking about, and everything they're saying is like really helping you and you're really resonating. And then once you've sort of embodied that and mastered that grand thesis that they are an expertise in, once you hit it to the level that you need to for yourself, and you don't necessarily need that mentorship anymore, or at least not your focus isn't there, it's shifted, then it's like they kind of fall away out of your interest, right? So it's like mentors and people will come and go on this path. But we also have to be, you know, mindful of the people who will come and test our boundaries this time around, because that is mentioned too. I will get more into that. Actually, why don't we just take it as it comes like right now? So we need to be careful of the tricksters along the path, because we have the Five of Swords that's come up. And in this particular deck, in the Mystical Moments Tarot, this depicts this argument between this couple where this woman has won, but like by any means necessary. You know, this is, and then she's like celebrating the victory while the gentleman here has gone off to the shadows and is wounded and is, you know, feeling betrayed. And so it's like, you know, winning, but like at what cost? Or like by manipulation or force. What in your, like, who of these characters may be presenting along the path that could have agendas or could be manipulating you? And even they don't even know, right? Some of these people might know, these characters, so to speak. But what if they didn't? What if it was just the opponent, our archetypal force that works against us, like gravity, and it's to put that force against us so we'll gain strength and overcome that force in order to earn our success and our elevation and that satisfaction and that fulfillment. It is the force that tries to prevent us from fulfilling our greatest potential that actually drives us towards fulfilling our greatest potential. So the opponent shows up at every level, every time you up level, and there's a masculine and feminine energy of the opponent. And this opponent can use other people and circumstances to mess with you, to throw you off. So as you're going through this forest, through this path once more, it's like you're the one having to cut the path. So be careful of those who would try to lead you in a direction that takes you off of the path that you're meaning to carve, right? Because they could mean well. They could be like, hey, come over this direction. But you're like, no, actually my goal is off in this direction. And I have to maintain my pace and my, you know, intention and my focus and my aims. So, you know, be careful of that. Be careful also of, you know, part of what gives us power as the hero being initiated is, you know, it's the strength we gain along the journey. Think about what happens to the hero. The hero's bravery and valor and courage and integrity are all tested. The hero's might and perseverance and determination and fortitude and endurance are tested. The hero's faith and grit and, you know, optimism and integrity are tested, you know, all of those things. And so it's like, as we are going through these tests, every time we overcome them, every time we face a fear or, you know, heal a wound or an insecurity or overcome, you know, one of our shadow egoic tendencies to do something that our higher self wouldn't find kosher, you know, every time we break that and choose, you know, to have affinity with the light rather than the side of the other side, of the opponent side, we break a shell of negativity and it reveals more light, and it actually like raises our vibration, it raises our frequency, it elevates our soul, and it reveals more of our potential, and it actually shifts our destiny. Like the plot lines, the storyline of the next script of the next episode gets a little bit changed for the better every time we overcome our darkness, and actually transmute that into light instead. So, you know, over the Christmas holidays and the Hanukkah holidays and solstice and the feast of Christmas and basically, you know, late November through December, early January, we have been taking 3 of our like deep soul flaws that we have been working on and trying to correct. Something that is prominent, like for an archetypal that you can narrow down to like a core, like this is this characteristic. Like for instance, my 3, and I've been talking about these, are hostility, resentment, and covetousness and jealousy. And so these, you might find clues about these in your astrological chart, because like I'm an Aries sun, and so that really links up to that hostility. The Cancer moon is, you know, you can be very hurt and you have hurt feelings, and you can be very empathic and self-sacrifice too much and create resentment, right? And then Libra is usually also self-sacrificing to keep everybody mediated and everybody else pacified as well. And so, because they can see all sides of it. And so, you know, and Libra also is ruled by Venus. And so beauty, possessions, comfort, luxury, it's like that can cause jealousy, I think, in me, and covetousness for people who have it easier, who can get their way, you know, while I'm sacrificing as a Libra to make everybody happy. You get your, you know, so think about that in regards to like your sun, moon, and rising might help you narrow it down. But if you have something instinctually that comes up, like that's probably it for you. So our experiment and our work and our practice over the last few weeks has been, every time we have these issues come up and we can overcome them in that moment, it's like practice, you know, it's not like a one and done. It's like you have to have discipline and maintain awareness, and you'll have many chances to mess it up and do it again. But every time it comes up, you know, and you do a little bit better, it's like I've noticed like these little manifestations coming through and little bits of progress, right, that are making me feel lighter, making me feel more peaceful and serene, a deeper sense of fulfillment, but also physical, material manifestations coming through as well. So it's like every time we do the self-sacrifice, I believe the Hebrew term is mezrut nefesh, we, you know, reveal more light and we align with miracles. We shift our destiny. We shift that outline of the next episode or the timeline of how the story would play out in the outline. Because it's like outlined, like our fate is outlined, but the scene work we do is improvisation, like in Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's the destiny we choose, right? That's the destiny we're creating in the moment through our either using our free will choice, or because we're in a reactive state and we're being effect consciousness. Now, when we're reacting to our environment and like what's in front of us, and we're not choosing with, you know, intention how to show up, then we fall out of affinity with the light, and we fall out of that resonance with that favor that's always, you know, kind of like emanating down. We are the vessel, right? And so we try to build the vessel, sustain the vessel, right? This is language for an idea that we are trying to gather and contain this light and be a channel for it. But we have to be in resonance with this light. So when we are in effect consciousness, we fall out of affinity with that light. And so it gets easier and more motivating to remind ourselves if we start to get worked up about something and we want to hold a grudge, or we want to be petty, or we want to, you know, do something that is out of alignment. It's like, is this worth falling out affinity with the light over? Now, another thing that we need to do, in addition to those ways that we have been self-searching and we want to self-sacrifice and to change and to actually transmute that darkness, in addition here, really pay attention to ways that you catch yourself in your own manipulative tendencies, and do your best to purge those from your behavioral patterns. That way you don't resonate with them at all. And then you'll be able to also recognize where maybe there is manipulative patterns in your life around you that are directed in your direction. And maybe it's, you know, time that you are clear about that and either set new boundaries or know how to navigate in defense of that, or like navigate around it, or, you know, have the conversations that you need to, if that's even possible. You know, like sometimes you just know if you have a manipulative character in your life that you can't get out of your life, sometimes there's no amount of healthy, like self-loving, like high value conversations you can have with that person. They're not going to get it. They're not going to take it in. They're not going to change. They're certainly not going to take responsibility that it's them that's the problem. So many times we need to practice wisdom, you know, like King David and King Solomon and those wise characters, like the Emperor card, right? Where we know our enemy and we can anticipate that opponent or that opposition and know how to work around them without getting them worked up, right? It's just like you just know how to manage that energy and stay in your integrity, but also protect yourself from it and not expose yourself to that. And it's like when you realize that something is manipulative, or if somebody is trying to, even if it's unconscious to them, they have a motive that they don't realize. It's like it doesn't have that much power over you anymore when you recognize it, even if they don't. And then also, don't try to force or control or manipulate your life to play out the way you want to right now. Do your best to plant the seeds, to take the action, to follow divine guidance. And, you know, when you're divinely inspired, to take action when you feel the timing is right. Don't force anything right now, because we need to stay out of our own way so that this new story, you know, can unfold organically, and we can give spirit room to breathe and do its thing as well. And so we're not trying to, you know, force everything into place. It's like there's so much that we can't even perceive for ourselves. So it's like we need to get in tune with the essence of what we desire. We need to aim ourselves for it. And then we need to leave room for the spirit to kind of like get like wind under our wings and lift us up, you know, when we weren't even thinking we could fly. Okay. And so, you know, even though we had a little bit of a shadowy start, it doesn't matter, because Anna Mundi came up with the sun. Anna Mundi is the last card in the Wild Unknown archetypes. This is the fully realized state of, you know, it's like related to the World card in the tarot. It's the end of cycles. So let bygones be bygones, leave the baggage in the past, leave the old limiting beliefs and patterns and dynamics in the past, and go forward. Like let the revelation create a revolution in you to reinvent yourself and to start living in that state now. So this is a revelatory, you know, revelation, insight, understanding, you know, spiritual awakening. and up-leveling, elevating of the soul, but it's about like elevating the consciousness, you know? So it's like we see it so clearly. We can start understanding how it all fit together and how it all fits together. And, you know, we're starting to really put the pieces together, and it's really starting to click, and we're beginning to embody all these lessons that we've been trying. Like, it's like we've been sifting through all these experiences and lessons, and even though in many ways intellectually we understood them, and in many ways emotionally we've been healing and we understood them, and on a soul level it's like we've been doing the work and we've been shifting and doing the change, and spiritually we were already perfected, but now it's like it's all coming online together at once, and it's like we're beginning to live in the consciousness of a higher version of self. So Anamundi, revelation, you know, the embodiment of spiritual insight and understanding, and having like the gift of prophecy where you get it, or you're not in a foolish way where you think you get it and you think that you know everything, but you can feel an intuitive continuity between, okay, I can see what I gained from that experience, and I can see how this led me here, and I can see how this that I'm doing now, I can look ahead and see how this is not going to yield the results that I want. You know, having an understanding, like on a soul and spiritual level, having a sense of just like it clicks, you get it, you have an understanding that's like beyond being able to explain. In Hebrew, the term is called das. It's an unmanifest trait of being, rather than one of the like governing dimensions of reality. And so the Sun card just reinforces, you know, all of that enlightenment, revelation. I think that's enlightenment is the word that I keep trying to remember. But the Sun card is, you know, this awakening, this renewal. It's, you know, things going in a positive direction, and the fruits of your labor being productive and, you know, successful and abundant. So it's the Sun coming out. It's like new joy, a new sense of spiritual renewal. It's rebirth. It's purity. It's like your consciousness has been cleansed, and you're no longer defiled by the virus that was lurking in your operating system, right? In the hard drive of your subconscious. Ta-da! Like fresh start. In the traditional tarot, the Sun card depicts a naked baby on a white horse, on horseback, on a white horse, riding away from a brick wall. And this was the limiting beliefs and the limitations of consciousness, the lower perception, all the things that were creating barriers and holding, you know, the self back. But this is like the healing of the inner child and the re-merging of that inner child before all the societal conditioning and fears and insecurities crept in and told us that we couldn't be who our spirit was telling us we were here to be, right? Second guessing it, feeling guilt, shame, embarrassment, you know, smallness, like, you know, feeling silly even. Oh, this isn't practical. But really rekindling that and reconnecting with that inner purpose that we knew we had at a young age, but that, you know, over time we just fear crept in. The gap widened for the opponent to try to keep us from our ultimate destiny and fulfillment. And so Thread came out with the Fool. And so the Fool, again, I mean, we have this two major arcana cards in this reading, and the Fool is like setting out on this new path, on this new journey, being born again, and having, you know, the trust that a newborn infant has, that you will be provided for, that you're in complete surrender, you're totally vulnerable, but you are so optimistic, and, you know, you are completely connected with divine and source, and you have absolute, you know, remembrance, like memory of having just come from that side. And I mean, if you look into a newborn's eyes, like they remember who they are until they forget, you know, it slips away. the more that they are able to self-actualize, right? That's when we start separating from the creator, when we solidify our ego. So, the Fool is always going forth on, what can be a risky, not straightforward path. It's right on the edge, but it's on the growth edge. And it's on the edge of uncertainty. It's many times on the edge of absolute ruin and destruction and oblivion on a cliffside. And then here we've got the alligator kind of lurking, like it could consume her, right? She's not careful. But the Fool is light and unencumbered with fears and insecurities, right? It's not defiled by the negativity of the opponent, the separation of the ego. It's, fully connected. That's why there's no baggage. That's why the Fool has, not but a knapsack, just the essentials, right? That I need to keep me going and to keep me happy and to be on my merry way. And so the thread here, this is that spiritual connection between all things. It's like what we're healing now, it heals retroactively and forward. It's like there is no time and space. It's all connected. And so, like we were saying earlier, the 3 things that you wanted to pick out of your, the challenges that you had that you knew you needed to work on, those 3 things are the exact blocks that are keeping the 3 dreams that you have that are closest to your heart, that you feel like you could be manifesting right now, that are blocked, that aren't as far along as you think that you want them to be. Those are the 3 things blocking those things. Even though they don't seem related, it doesn't matter. Energetically, they are tied, connected, right? They're tied to one another. So the more we unravel these strings, these ties that bind, it's like our storyline loosens up. So the order that they would be in is your instinct of sequential order. It's like, what was the first thing that you thought of in each thing? Those things go together. The second thing in each of the categories. What's my challenge? What's my dream? And so then also right now, take this time to cut any cords or strings that hold you to old soul contracts that no longer serve your highest good, that need to be expired, that you don't want to keep playing out going into this next cycle. Anything that's like holding you like on that old timeline, even if it's like new, even if it's people that that are going with you into this new cycle, it's like you have to make a fresh start with everyone, or, revamp, or, things need to be cleaned up, wrapped up, done what needs to be done to be concluded, right? It needs to have a completion, a conclusion, like a clean one, so that there can be this fresh, untainted new cycle in each area of your life, right? And, for instance, like some things might come to an end, but some things might just be going into another stage, right? Like think of a student going from college, or like from high school to college, right? So the student themselves has to leave home and begin, like go from the top of where they just were into like being a beginner again in a new environment. The parents are going into another level of their lives, right? Because they are like letting go of having their full focus being on parenting and this kid in their house. They have empty nest syndrome. They're like, oh, I miss my kid. They're leaving. That's a thing that, separation anxiety stage to go through. Then reconnecting with themselves. That's another phase to start. It's like completing that, nesting phase with child. Starting into a new cycle of, okay, this is my liberation. This is my rediscovery of self. If you're still together with your, the husband and wife, or wife and wife, or husband and husband, the partners, they're still together after the kids leave the nest, then they can have like a new cycle of like focusing back on their relationship and the romantic aspects again. So you see where it's like sometimes things end and they come to a completion, and I think that's the first thing their mind goes to. But there's so many people with so many different scenarios that and different scenarios in your life too. It's like you may not be ending a job or a career, but you may be ending habits that you had at work that kept you unfulfilled, or going through cycles that kept you burnt out, right? You could be, you know, getting over ways that you held yourself back, you know, fears or anxieties, right? So it could mean a lot of different things. So, you know, always sit with yourself and use this as a prompt to go deeper into your own intuition. Where are you being led right now? And, you know, we're really like this rainbow bridge here. Like, I love this rainbow. It's like a portal opening or something. It's like a bridge of a portal. It just, we're crossing a portal right now into like a new timeline with like greater, wider potential. So feeling really good about it. I'm going to relax for the rest of the evening. I'm going to try to sit with my 2024 manifestation list, and then hopefully tomorrow before work I can start getting into the 2024 predictions. Speaking of integrity and not being a liar, I hate when I want to do something so bad and I haven't had time, and then I have time but it's like, oh, there's a snow day or something like that. So you're like, you know, can't be too hard on ourselves. Showing up is better than not showing up at all. So, all right, y'all, ciao.